Hello, my name is Pam Toder, President of Women of Achievement. I am honored to introduce you to our organization and 10 dynamic women who've been chosen this year for their volunteer leadership across the St. Louis region. Women of Achievement is a not-for-profit that has carried on the tradition of honoring these unique and dedicated women in the St. Louis community since 1955. We recognize the individual and unique accomplishments of women who have found ways to impact the community and improve lives by giving their time and talents across the St. Louis region, regardless of race, religion, or financial status. These women know that challenges can impact anyone, whether it is a health issue, a legal injustice, or financial hardship. These are women who give their time graciously, without compensation, but out of compassion. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this year's honorees and my new sisters. Please enjoy this video as you hear the stories of the class of 2023.
I can't imagine not having a place to call home. And there are so many people in the state of Missouri. I was on the governor's committee to end homelessness, and it's shocking the circumstances under which people have to live. And how do you check your children's homework when you don't know where you're going to spend the night tonight? I mean, so it's all combined. My kids had a wonderful education. I had a wonderful education. I just feel like it's just not fair for everybody not to have a wonderful education.
I've known Kathy Anderson for 50 years, and I think there's not been a time in that 50 years when she hasn't been involved in some activity to try to help somebody, one group or another. She is probably the most dedicated social servant that I've ever met.
I've kind of concentrated in several fields. One was food insecurity. I served on the board at Operation Food Surge, and then after that became assistant director at a food pantry. Working with the folks at the food pantry reinforced my desire to help those that were unhoused or maybe needed better housing. And so that led me to serve on the boards at Beyond Housing. I worked at Habitat for Humanity. Was assistant tool yard manager. I love that. But all the time there were children around, and these children deserved good schools, like my children had. So I became involved with Loyola Academy, and then later at Northside Community School.
Kathy is a particular kind of leader, I think the best kind of nonprofit leader, and that is that she doesn't think she's the center of attention. She doesn't think she knows everything. She relies on other people. She listens to other people, and everyone knows that they can have confidence that she'll do whatever needs to be done, whether she does it herself or gets other people to do it. They know she's a good manager and a good organizer.
I love everything I do. No person's more important or less important, so every single job that I try and do, I feel is the same. Every time I say, I'm not going to do this anymore, I think, well, who is going to do it? And this is your time. So what are you going to do, watch TV? Or are you going to make a difference? And so I try and make a difference.
We started summer camp when a boy in my neighborhood was shot and getting off his school bus. And later we found out he had been pronounced dead. So some of us got together and started talking about what can we do to help children in the community. We decided that summers were the longest amount of time that children didn't have support. So what we did was start a 3-week back-to-school safety camp, and we were all going to triumph this one opportunity to help children. Well, here we are 11 years later. The camp has grown from a 3-week camp now to 10 weeks.
Her commitment to these children is a lifesaver. It's a godsend. It is motivated by her own true belief that she's here to help. and she's here to make a difference.
Camp Sunsplash is located in Fairground Park in the midst of a marginalized community, and we make sure that there are no fees involved with our services. It's really an opportunity for children and their parents to create a new paradigm, the paradigm that they want to live into for lifelong success.
Those children are exposed to new and interesting things, and with those new encounters, they may begin to see themselves doing something.
We go on 30 field trips every summer in 50 days. We were taking children a couple of days a week to one of the universities, and the children had a one-on-one college mentor. Then we had swimming once a week. We would also go to the library once a week, and then there were the Saturday activities.
And they're also coming to understand that there are careers that are possible for them. Carpentry, the trades, law enforcement.
One of our first campers came back this summer in 2022, and he said, I'm graduating from the JROTC program, and I'm going to be at a school in Missouri, and I'd like to do something to get our squad to help you. And he also signed up to be in the Guard. And all of that we went to Fort Leonard Wood on a field trip at the guest of the general who was in command there. And he actually took the children on a tour around Fort Leonard Wood like they were his own children. And here this boy comes back, and then now he's in service in the National Guard. At my age, nearing 70, this has been a dream come true for me. This definitely has lightened my life. It's given me a will to want to live. And some mornings when I want to take a late nap or eat some bonbons, I'm able to get up and know that I have a meaning for my life. My life means something to other people, and people are depending on me. And really, I'm depending on them.
We started Step It Up after Hurricane Katrina. So when Hurricane Katrina happened, we were very moved by how poorly things were done in response to the victims of Katrina. So we had started collecting things and delivering them to New Orleans. So we decided we needed to do something in our community. So we asked around, and people said shoes and socks were a really basic need that a lot of the kids in St. Louis didn't have. So we decided we would start a charity and give away shoes and socks every month. And we started going into the Head Start program and starting with the kids that were infant to 6 years old and doing shoe distributions.
We talk about doing a better job of taking care of each other, making sure we use a holistic wraparound approach to how we reach each other in society. Well, if you want to see a model of that, you just need to see Beth Boggs.
So when COVID hit, I was at a meeting with a client, and she said to me, "Did you hear today that they're closing the schools?" And my response was, but then how are those families going to feed the kids? Because a lot of those families are relying on the in-school food program to feed their children. So her company has a commissary. And I said, well, how come we can't just feed the kids? And she said, is that what you want to do? And I said, that's what I want to do. Ask your commissary how many sandwiches you guys can make for me a week, because I'm going to buy 10,000 sandwiches a week, and I'm going to give them away to the kids in the community. So that's how we started, was delivering sandwiches and fruit, and then it really took off from there.
I respect her with her compassion, her commitment, and I just can't say enough words about how much Beth Boggs means to this community.
When the kids went back to school, we decided that we had seen such significant need in certain communities that we were going to continue to do it even though the kids were back in school. So every Friday we still do food distributions. When we went into Jennings, you could just see the need in Jennings, and we were not going to abandon those families who needed that help. So every Friday we go into Jennings and give food away, and we have a drive-through where the families still come through, and we serve about 700 cars every food distribution.
She's a daredevil. She would go anywhere. I'll say, Beth, you know, I'm taking you into communities that, you know, I'm okay with going with, but we got to figure out two things here. One, that Cubs jersey, and the fact that you're just this plain, everyday little lady that's out here on the front line. But you know, I would say this, she is fearless, and people respect it and love Beth because she's genuine.
So we are getting as much food as we can out to the communities, and a lot of people are, they'll come to us and say, we don't have enough food to make it through the week with the people that we're giving stuff out of the pantry to. So we then step in and we will get the food. I'm an attorney for Sam's, so we'll go to Sam's and get a discount and get a bunch of food and fill everybody's pantries for them. We are taking what we can and trying to make the best of it.
I was volunteering with another organization, Feeding the Homeless, and I looked out and I saw about 20 or so kids, and because I love my birthday, I thought to myself, what do these kids do on their birthday? So I asked the executive director, what do these kids do? And he goes, we don't do anything. We have very limited resources. We get them to school, we feed them, and all the necessities, but we don't do anything for their birthdays. And so I said, what if I came in once a month, I have a birthday party for all the kids that have a birthday in that particular month? And he goes, go for it. And so I started soliciting my friends and my family and to volunteer and help bring that joy.
I think it comes out of just, one, her love for birthdays. If you are around her in September, I just want you to know you're going to be somewhere in one of her celebrations, because she celebrates her birthday big.
When we first started, we started with 2 shelters. We started with a homeless shelter and a domestic violence shelter. In a domestic violence shelter, that child is hiding, that mom is hiding, that mom is in survival mode. We wanted to come in and give her some relief.
And just some of the feedback from the parents, particularly the moms, if they were in a domestic violence situation and all they could do was escape, and they know that child's birthday is coming up, that's adding to the challenge and the dread that they're feeling. This gives them an opportunity to show their child, through them, that they do matter and that they're loved.
I keep going back to when I first started, and I remember I had a little bitty car that was just full of balloons, like balloons hit me in my head and everything. I remember driving up, and this little boy runs out, and he's like, the birthday lady's here, the birthday lady's here. And that face keeps me going.
And I just love the fact that she identified that niche and has been fulfilling it for over 8 years now.
I remember, this is a domestic violence shelter. The little girl was turning 16. And I gotta be honest, we went way over the budget because she was 16 and they had just gotten there maybe a week or so prior. And we took this little space that they offered us and we just pinked it out. There was so much pink in that room. Just remembering the look on her face and the hug that the mom gave me. And I mean, we cried together, but for me, that just really did something for me, that when I feel down or I think, I'm doing too much or I get tired, besides, I think about the little boy and then I think about that teen. Just thinking back to the hugs and the smiles and the laughter that we were able to create in such a difficult time has been amazing.
I've always liked to color and paint myself. And then when I finished college, the children were off to school. I thought this would be a way of finding out more about that art museum.
Judy is an amazing docent. She's been docenting longer than any other docent in the program, just about 60 years. She loves to tour with adults, but particularly students and children.
Well, I have mainly given children's tours. I used to think if I was taller than someone, that was a plus. And when they come, I try to welcome them. Hi, hello, am I lucky to have your class? And who wants to carry my purse? And that always, I get very popular.
She really knows how to draw visitors into a work of art. She just, in her very calm, gentle way, gets them to just look closely and examine a painting or a sculpture and really think about what's going on in that work.
I thought that it'd be much more interesting for me and for children if you looked at a painting and thought about why it was painted more than what era it was painted or what's the background of the artist. And so when we look at paintings, I rarely mention an artist's name because I think that more important is looking at the painting and see if it tells you a story. So that's been the way I've approached the tours. And I have found that the children like finding stories.
It's really just about art is here to tell us stories, and what stories can you find in the museum? It's a little bit like a treasure hunt.
I kind of feel I'm adding a little bit of theater to the art museum. I want to make it a little more interesting than it might normally be. I like them to feel that this is not a place that they don't feel comfortable. We don't touch. I've always used the expression, touch with your eyes. And I had one little boy open his eyes real bright, and he started walking toward the painting as if he was going to touch it with his eyes. Here's a drawing of the tree that we have outside. It's stainless steel. Weather permitting, we like to go out and look at it. Thank you for the amazing tour of all the great art. My favorite piece was the silver tree. I'm so glad you were my docent. And I was so glad he was in my class.
What she's given at the museum for all these years, touring and touring and touring and still going, it's just, we're very fortunate to have her in our midst.
I'm planning on continuing, who knows, forever, as long as forever can be.
I started volunteering at COCA when my daughter was just born and I was trying to get involved in the community. I'm from Indiana, so I was trying to learn the landscape of St. Louis, and it kind of spiraled after that. So I started, as we had more kids, to find organizations that my kids enjoyed being a part of. So the Magic House was one of the first boards I joined, helped with their Magic Ball Gala for years and fundraising for that. Honored to be a part of the zoo, also the same thing. And then it's expanded into healthcare, and basically the general principle for me is that I want people to have access to the things that they want and need, and helping to provide that is important.
Just her passion when she talks about causes that she believes in is, it's absolutely infectious. Like, you just can't say no to her.
So I had some good friends who had learned about, at the time it was called Pink Ribbon Girls. It started in Ohio with a wonderful woman who used her experience with breast cancer to give back to others. And we were very interested in bringing it to St. Louis. PRG provides meals, rides to treatment, peer support, and house cleaning services to women battling breast and gynecological cancers. I love research, and I think we need to cure cancer, but when you already have breast cancer, you know, it's that support that we need to help others with. And so it was a combination of me spending my time, my connections, and volunteering, and that was, I think, very helpful in bringing that organization to our community.
PRG would not be in St. Louis without Linda Hunter. Her passion, her connections, we say at PRG that we need doers, donors, and door openers, and Linda is all three. Philanthropy and community is just part of her.
I often get asked how I can be involved in so many organizations, and I find it to be something that keeps me going. And the more I do, the better I feel I do at it. I've really developed a knack for fundraising, and I love that people come to me saying, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm proud to have grown into this role. I'm proud to be a leader in the philanthropic community, not just because someone wants me to write a check for something, but because they value my opinion.
I mean, to think about the organization she's involved with, and not just her name is on something, but she's on a board, she's running a committee. It's the St. Louis Zoo, it's PRG, it's the aquarium, it's the Magic House, it's Aim High. It's such a diverse group of amazing institutions. She's not just one of those people that will just say, I'm gonna help with that and not do any work. She does the work.
I am so lucky to be in this position. I am so lucky to have the means and the support of my husband and my family in doing all of this. And I feel very blessed every day that we can provide other people with the access and the health care through the efforts that we're making, and I'm truly grateful for that.
Gwendolyn's gifts started based on our own journey. We have an 8-year-old daughter named Gwendolyn, and when she was about 5 months old, she was diagnosed with a progressive neurological condition. Gwen is blind. Gwen doesn't have any functional use of her arms and her legs. Gwen is nonverbal. Gwen uses a feeding tube. Buying presents for her is a little bit of a tricky situation. A nurse had just been in our house, was telling me about a family that she just left, and a child was sleeping on a mattress with no sheets. And my heart broke for that family, thinking about, here's another family taking care of a child with a terminal illness. And financially, obviously, they are in a very, very hard place. And I said, you know what? In lieu of birthday gifts for Gwen, we're gonna collect donations. We're gonna put together some gift bags. We'll give them to the social worker. They know who needs them. They'll give them to those family. And I was telling a girlfriend about it. She's like, well, could you open it up to friends? And it just kind of snowballed a little bit.
Erin is one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. Just immediately, her instinct was to help others, to pull from her experiences in life, whether good or bad, and be able to help others.
These families are walking such a hard and such a dark journey. If we can give them one moment of sunshine or one smile, then that was our goal for that day, just to spread a little bit of sunshine during a really hard and dark journey. It kind of started small. It started with the creation of smile bags, which are just gift bags that we deliver to children on palliative and hospice care all over St. Louis. St. Louis Children's Hospital, Cardinal Glennon, Mercy Kids, and then the Wings Palliative and Hospice Care Program. From that, we were able to grow and add the financial assistance, where we pay mortgages, we pay rent, we do utility bills, car payments, buy refrigerators, kind of anything that's a necessity for a family.
The families that they do help are always just so grateful and so appreciative. And it's literally life-changing for them, because sometimes it's a matter of keeping a roof over families' heads or being able to make a car payment.
We truly understand what these families are going through, and I think that's why we know how to help them. And I think that families find a sense of relief knowing it's another family like them supporting them. The thing I'm most proud about is being Gwen's mom, for sure. She's the CEO of the charity. It's all her inspiration. It's all her, and we're really just facilitating her inspiration.
Erin would never say that like she's doing all this. She's just the one that can kind of help share it and express it, but she would give Gwen all the credit.
She gets happy every time I tell her I'm doing something.
Yay! Go Gwen!
But she also makes sure that I know that she's the CEO, because she is the boss. She is the boss. She'll give me a look to remind me anytime.
Growing up, I totally wanted to be an American, a true blonde American. Mom wouldn't let me dye my hair blonde, thank goodness. But always wanted to fit in. I know I looked different. I knew I spoke a different language. I understood a couple of different languages. I was always my parents' interpreter, because they didn't speak. They came when they were in the 30s, so we were their voice. And then eventually my parents saw that there was a need to help other people in our community. So guess what? I was the community's. I became their friend's interpreter and navigation and everything like that. The incident that actually changed my mind into actually knowing what I want to do was this elderly gentleman. He was walking in the afternoon like he usually does in the city to exercise, and he was attacked and left for dead. There was a bus driver that afternoon who stopped to help him and called the police, and of course I got involved because I knew the family. He couldn't even explain what happened to the bus driver who stopped it up. Well, he couldn't even explain what happened to the police. So when I arrived, I asked him what happened, and he told me, and that's when I was able to relay the information to the police and to the hospital as to why his injuries were like this.
The Vietnamese community now is very spread out, but the elderly in many cases have chosen to live in the city. Their stores are there, their restaurants are there, their friends are there, and so this is community to them. They were shaken by this whole experience, and a lot of them then began to say, maybe I can't live in the city anymore. Maybe I have to move, and it broke their hearts. So her ability to step forward then and to work with the police, all of these kinds of things help to be able to not just develop connectivity, but to retain those ties.
We try to build a community where everybody's comfortable with communicating with everybody. If there's help that's needed, we try to find the resources to connect everybody, and also interpreting. We have a team of board members in the St. Louis Vietnamese community that are bilingual. Some are elder and some are younger, and I'm privileged to be nominated to continue to lead this organization. That's help us preserve the culture and also at the same time bring the community together and advocate for them.
So I really value what she does, and I so appreciate the fervency with which she really dedicates herself to the community and also to the larger community where she wants St. Louisans to really know and appreciate and value our differences.
You can tell in their eyes when they just hold your hands and say, thank you so much for bringing your team here and helping me. And you know, that just makes me cry because I see him and I see my parents. Had my parents didn't have us when we were little to speak for them, they wouldn't be able to do most of the things that they could. So every time I help an individual, I think of my parents that had to struggle to get us here, to get us educated, and to get me to sit here to talk to you.
My two passions are child advocacy and housing for people affected by HIV/AIDS. I lost my brother to AIDS in 1992. And I looked at how people with this, during the height of the AIDS crisis, people were being ostracized and they are being rejected by their families and they can't work. Doorways provides housing and other essential services to clients and families affected by HIV/AIDS.
She lost a beloved brother to AIDS several years ago, and I believe that she just made it a crusade within her that she wanted to serve the population that is considered an invisible population.
I got involved in child advocacy when I was a court-appointed special advocate, and I had a very long case with a sibling group. One of the kids I worked with, I've known him longer than he ever knew his biological mother. He had nobody he could ever call. He was being abused in a group home, but he had nobody. I guess that's how I got involved.
What I have learned from her is that if you believe in something or you see an injustice being done, don't wait for somebody else to do it.
My father-in-law was selling his home, and so I called the Doorways office. Could you reach out if there's anybody out there that's moving into a place that needs something? And I called back and said, yeah, we do have a young man that's going into one of our Del Mar apartments. And I said, can I bring this stuff down? And they said, absolutely. I walk in this apartment. This kid, young man, he was just, this is mine? This is all mine? He was sleeping on a sofa that had holes all over it, and it was freezing. It was 0 degrees out. The only blanket he had was a coat. We got him just basic furniture and a mattress and bed, and it was so fulfilling, but it was also such, people really live like this.
I call her Team Chris because that's what she is. Singularly and unifying with others, she is a force.
I may have helped a lot of people in a lot of ways, but getting to know these people and their needs has probably done far more for me as a person.
Latinos have been in St. Louis for a long time, but I think that this is an opportune moment to really make a difference because there are a lot of leaders that are coming together, not only to identify where there are challenges, but really to find the solutions. I guess you could say that I wear many hats, and during the day I get to work at Cortex serving entrepreneurs, but my day doesn't end at 5 o'clock, and that's really the work that I'm passionate about, helping the entrepreneurs at the Bossa Foundation, really supporting first-time entrepreneurs through their business journey. And so we provide $1,000 grants to 10 entrepreneurs twice a year, and then we also provide a learning series and co-working space and coaching.
There are many challenges that the Hispanic Latino community faces in St. Louis, in the region, in the state. I think that Gabriela has been a great advocate for all of the many issues that exist. One of those things is language access, which she has been such at the forefront of that advocacy work. Gabriela has been on the receiving end of the lack of those resources. So she's now at the forefront of making sure that those resources are there.
I saw what was missing in the ecosystem when my husband tried to get support. And especially when you talk about Spanish speakers, I would say I really didn't know that I had a voice. In my culture, I often heard, calladita te ves más bonita, like when you're quiet, you look prettier. And so I lived that way for a long time, but life threw stuff at me, divorce, and my daughter passed away, and a lot of different things. And so it really made me realize that if I have a voice and I have a platform, I need to do something with that.
She cares so much about St. Louis, about Missouri, a place that at the beginning wasn't welcoming to her. I think that is just a testament of her dedication, of her values, and of the love that she has for the community.
I think in the last 2 years, a lot of my energy has come because my daughter passed away. And it's like, why is she not here and why am I still here? So I need to do something with this voice. I need to do some of the things that she's no longer able to do with her passion around the unhoused and immigration. The girls grew up speaking Spanish and English, and so they understand why it's so important to me, why culture is so important. The tribes that we've been able to form and the roots have just been amazing, and just continue to empower me to empower other people, because not everybody gets that. Not everybody has all these cheerleaders, and so how can I now be that for other people and really continue to bring people with me and lead the way so that the younger generation has a future in St. Louis, and that we make that impact, but we can also do more with that when we collaborate and work together.